The lights came up on Palace Theater, New York, April 1961. Two spotlights, side by side. Waiting. The orchestra held a single note, suspended, expectant. Then from stage left, Judy Garland walked into her spotlight. The audience erupted. She was 38 years old but looked older, thinner than she should be. Moving with the careful precision of someone who wasn't entirely sure their body would obey them. But when that spotlight hit her, she transformed. Became Judy. The Judy they remembered. The Judy they needed her to be. From stage right, Sammy Davis Jr. walked into his spotlight. The audience roared again. He was 35, electric. All energy and movement, and that impossible smile. They stood in their separate pools of light, 20 feet apart, looking at each other across the darkness between them. This was supposed to be the moment. The duet everyone had paid to see. Judy Garland and Sammy Davis Jr., two of the greatest entertainers alive, together on one stage. The orchestra began the introduction. Sammy took a step toward Judy and froze. His smile flickered. Just for a second, so quick most people missed it. But Judy saw. She saw the tremor in his hands, the slight sway in his stance, the way his one good eye went unfocused for just a moment. She'd seen it before, in her own mirror, every single day. Without hesitation, Judy walked across the stage, out of her spotlight, into the darkness, into Sammy's light. She took his hand. The audience thought it was choreography. It wasn't. 3 hours earlier, Sammy had been in his dressing room, alone, sitting in front of the mirror, staring at his reflection, trying to recognize the man staring back. He'd taken the pills 20 minutes ago. Uppers to counteract the downers he'd needed to sleep. Downers to counteract the uppers he'd needed to perform. A chemical balancing act he'd been maintaining for months. Years, if he was honest. But tonight, something was wrong. The pills weren't working the way they usually did. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. His heart was racing so fast he thought it might explode. And worst of all, he couldn't remember the lyrics. Not to this song. Not to any song. His mind was blank, white, empty. There was a knock on the door. 30 minutes, Mr. Davis. Thank you, he called out, his voice sounding stranger to his own ears. He looked at the pills on his dressing table. Maybe one more, just to steady his nerves. He reached for the bottle. The door opened without knocking. Judy Garland walked in. She took one look at Sammy, at the pills, at his shaking hands, and closed the door behind her. How many? She asked quietly. How many what? Pills. How many have you taken today? I don't know, the usual. Sammy. Her voice was firm. How many? He looked down at his hands. 6, maybe 8. I lost count. Judy walked over, sat down beside him, took the pill bottle from his hand. You can't go on stage like this. I have to. 3,000 people are out there. They paid to see. I know what they paid for, Judy interrupted. I also know what happens when you go on stage like this. I've done it 100 times. And every time, I swore it would be the last. That I'd never put myself through it again. She looked at him in the mirror. But I always did. Because I was more afraid of disappointing them than I was of destroying myself. What am I supposed to do? Sammy's voice cracked. Cancel? Walk out there and tell them I can't perform? No, Judy said. You're going to go out there, and I'm going to be right beside you. Judy, listen to me, she said. When you feel like you're going to fall, I'll hold you up. When you forget the words, I'll sing them. When you can't take another step, I'll carry you. Tears welled in Sammy's eye. Why would you do that? Judy smiled sadly. Because nobody did it for me, and I've spent 20 years wishing they had. That's why, when Sammy froze under the spotlight, Judy walked across the stage and took his hand. The moment their fingers touched, Sammy felt it. Not strength. Not energy. Permission. Permission to not be perfect. To be struggling. To be barely holding on. They began to sing. Judy led. Sammy followed. When his voice faltered, hers grew stronger. When he missed a note, she covered it. When he forgot where to stand, she gently guided him with the pressure of her hand. To the audience, it looked like artistry. Two performers so in sync they moved as one. But on stage, in the heat of those spotlights, it was something else entirely. It was rescue. Judy Garland, who could barely keep herself upright, was holding Sammy Davis Jr. together through sheer force of will. And he wasn't the only one being saved, because every time Judy steadied Sammy, every time she sang a line he couldn't, every time she squeezed his hand to let him know he wasn't alone, she was also telling herself something, that she could do this, that she was strong enough, that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as broken as she believed. The song reached its climax, the moment where they were supposed to separate, to go back to their individual spotlights for the final notes. Sammy's hand tightened on Judy's. "Don't let go," the pressure said. "Please don't let go." Judy squeezed back. "I won't." They finished the song together. In the same spotlight. Holding hands, the audience exploded. Standing ovation, screaming, crying. Some people swore it was the most beautiful thing they'd ever seen. Two legends. Vulnerable, connected, real. But they didn't know the truth. They didn't know that Sammy was on the verge of collapse. They didn't know that Judy was using every ounce of strength she had to keep them both standing. They didn't know that this wasn't a performance, it was survival. After the show, in Judy's dressing room, they sat in silence, both of them exhausted, drained, but alive. "Thank you," Sammy finally said. "Don't thank me," Judy replied. "We saved each other tonight. You saved me." "No," Judy said firmly. "When I walked across that stage and took your hand, I wasn't just helping you, I was proving to myself that I could still do it, that I could still be strong for someone." She looked at him. "Do you know what it's like? To be so weak, so broken, that you don't believe you have anything left to give? And then someone needs you. And suddenly you find strength you didn't know existed?" Sammy nodded slowly. "That's what you gave me tonight," Judy said. "The chance to be strong, even if it was just for one song." They sat there. Two people who were falling apart, who had somehow for 3 minutes and 42 seconds held each other together. "We can't keep doing this," Sammy said quietly. "I know. The pills. The performing when we can barely stand. The pretending we're okay." "I know," Judy said again. "Then why do we?" Judy was quiet for a long time. "Because we don't know how to stop," she finally said. "Because this is all we know. Because the audience needs us to be Judy Garland and Sammy Davis Jr., and we're so afraid of disappointing them that we'll destroy ourselves to keep the illusion alive. There has to be another way." "Maybe," Judy said, "but I haven't found it yet, and I've been looking for 20 years. They performed together 3 more times that week. Each night, the same routine. Sammy barely holding on, Judy walking across the stage, taking his hand, saving them both. The critics called their chemistry magical. "Unprecedented emotional connection," one wrote. "You can see the love between them," said another. They were right, there was love. But it wasn't romantic. It was the love of two people drowning who found each other's hands in the dark. On the final night, after the last performance, Judy gave Sammy something. A small piece of paper, folded. "Don't read it now," she said. "Read it when you need it most." "When will that be?" "You'll know." They hugged. A long, tight embrace. "Take care of yourself, Sammy." "You too, Judy." They both knew they wouldn't, but it felt good to pretend. 8 years later, in 1969, Sammy was in his dressing room in Las Vegas. He'd just gotten the news. Judy Garland was dead. 47 years old. Overdose. He sat there, numb, staring at nothing. Then, he remembered the piece of paper. He'd kept it all these years. In his wallet. Never reading it. Never throwing it away. He pulled it out now. Unfolded it with shaking hands. Judy's handwriting. Shaky, but clear. Dear Sammy, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. And it probably means you're struggling. So I want you to remember something. That night at the palace, when I took your hand, you thought I was saving you. But the truth is, you saved me. You gave me one last chance to be strong. To be useful. To be more than my addiction. Thank you for that gift. Now I need you to do something for me. I need you to survive. I need you to find a way to stop. To rest. To be human. Do what I couldn't do. Live. Not for the audience. For yourself. Please. Judy. Sammy read it 3 times. Then he put his head down on his dressing table. And wept. That night, Sammy canceled his show. For the second time in his career, he went back to his hotel, flushed the pills down the toilet, and slept for 20 hours. When he woke up, he made a decision. He would survive. Not because it was easy, because Judy had asked him to, and she'd earned the right to make that request. By holding his hand when he was falling. By being strong when she had nothing left. By loving him enough to ask him to do what she couldn't. In 1990, Sammy Davis Jr. gave his final interview. The journalist asked about Judy Garland. Sammy wrote on his notepad, his voice stolen by cancer. Judy took my hand on stage. The audience thought it was choreography. It was rescue. She saved my life that night. And then she asked me to save my own. I tried. God knows I tried. I hope she knows that. One more question. What do you want people to know about that performance? Sammy's hand trembled as he wrote that sometimes the most beautiful moments come from the deepest pain. That 2 broken people can hold each other up. That love doesn't always look like romance. Sometimes it looks like someone walking across a stage to take your hand when you're falling. That was love. Real love. The kind that saves you. The story of that night at the Palace Theater is not about a duet. It's about 2 people who were dying, who found each other in the spotlight, and for a few brief moments, held each other up. Judy couldn't save herself, but she saved Sammy. And Sammy tried to honor that gift. By surviving. By living. By remembering that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is reach for someone's hand. Even when you're barely holding on yourself. Especially then.